Hello and welcome to Rhonda's Readings. This is a part of my playlist where I get to meet other cool psychic people. Wonderful. Hi. Thank you for joining me.
Okay.
Hi everyone. Welcome to this is Meet Other Cool Psychic People playlist of my YouTube channel Rhonda's Readings. Tonight I'm joined by Jenny. So Jen I've met on Instagram. Her Instagram channel is Jens_intuitive_guidance. Yeah, I absolutely love your Instagram videos and posts, by the way, so I'm really drawn to you.
Thank
But I
you.
just thought I'd ask you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and more importantly, how you came to be doing this.
It's a long story, but I'll cut it short. So I remember the first time I actually got a message and trusted that it was a message from Spirit was probably back in 2009. I was with my ex-partner at the time, and something was telling me earth angels. And look, I wasn't spiritual back then, so it just popped into my mind. I go, oh, I've got to research this. And I read up a bit about it, and basically earth angels are angels that have chosen to incarnate into human form to help others, and I thought it was a little bit bizarre, and I didn't know why I was drawn to looking that particular term up. And this was back when Doreen Virtue was quite big on talking about earth angels and star beings and all that. So that was back in 2009, didn't look at it since. And 2011, I had a big awakening in November. I was a party girl back then. I had about 50 friends, and but I always felt really alone anyway.
Yeah.
I had a calling to let go of all my friends and be on my own, and it was the most bizarre thing ever. So I went on a journey of self-discovery. I spent every day for about 2 to 3 years on my own, and that was when I met my partner right now. And one thing led to another, and I just started digging, during that time when I was on my own. And it's just too much for me to mention here, but
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
definitely like a lot of changes have gone through to me. And especially this year, I felt that there was a calling for me in particular to start my services, particularly to help others understand what's going on around us at the moment. And so here I am.
Beautiful, absolutely. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I was psychic as a child. I used to see spirits more clearly than I do now. But it was always dismissed by my parents. But it was actually for me about 2009 as well as my ex-fiance. He was actually a medium, so he was able to connect with the other side. And
Yeah.
probably sounds stupid, but it was the first time in my life I'd ever had conversations about that to a person. I kind of thought, oh, that was something as I knew as a kid. Did I dream it? Was it real? Kind of thing. So that actually started my psychic journey. And I started sort of when we broke up, I was in a cafe, and my brother had died a few years before that. I was in a cafe, and things just weren't right in the relationship, and I knew I had a gut feeling for a reason, and trusting intuition. And I was in a cafe, and I literally heard my brother's voice say, "Listen," and I thought, "Oh my god, like what the hell?" I thought, did I just hear my brother's voice? And when the cafe's really noisy and everyone's talking, and suddenly it goes quiet, like if you're feeling like you're going to faint or something like that, I thought, oh god, don't tell me I'm going to faint. And then I'm not joking, I could only hear one conversation in a cafe. It was a crowded cafe in Chadstone in a shopping centre in Melbourne. I heard one cafe, and there were one conversation in that cafe between two women, and they were talking about their partners and why they should end that relationship. So I went and sat down next to them and joined the conversation. And it was literally, it was different facts, but literally the same things that were going on in each of our relationships. And I had goosebumps. I have goosebumps thinking about it. I thought, oh my God, how profound is that I've got it and I'm able to communicate and, trusting intuition. But that was really complete confirmation for me that I had a gift. And it wasn't until I
Yeah,
moved to Sydney about 5 years ago I started doing psychic development classes with Florence King
yeah.
and reading myself and that sort of thing. And now this is my business, doing psychic and mediumship reading. So, but again, just had a calling, and I was working in non-psychic work up until a couple of years ago. But this year in particular, or last year and this year, I've had a calling to do this. So it's, yeah, very
No,
my journey very similar to you.
I can completely understand, and I mean, as soon as you open one door, like there's other doors that
Oh,
opened,
absolutely.
and I've had also I was meant to add I've also had health issues all my life,
Okay.
and I've only found out just recently it was because of souls that haven't crossed the other side. They were latching onto me, and that creates a bit of trauma within myself. So when I realised that and I've accepted that, that was when I started hearing them properly and seeing
beautiful.
them, whereas I was blocking them out all my life. So it's great to, yeah.
It's interesting because I've only sort of become aware of entities that can attach, and that's sort of the end of last year and this year. And I actually had a feeling I was, when I was watching your ones, I felt that you either helped entities cross over or detach from people. So I felt there was a bit of a soul purpose sort of thing. So again, you've done that. So beautiful. But certainly
I've been doing it all my life and haven't realised. Yeah, it's good.
But certainly from your Instagram videos, I can tell that you're clairaudient, and I can tell that you're clairsentient and you're empathic. What other psychic abilities do you have in your toolkit?
I'm very, very good at channeling, and I suppose I don't know all the clairs off by heart.
Okay.
But I can read people's energies, and I can also see deeply into their soul. It's almost like I can see things that they don't normally see and feel at times. It also depends on how open the person is as well to me.
Yeah, I find when I'm doing a reading, most people are genuine and they come and want a reading and pay for a reading, but sometimes someone will sit down and cross their arms, fold their arms, or they'll say to you, "I'm a psychic. What can you tell me that I don't already know?" kind of thing. And it used to really freak me out, and I'd stop myself thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this reading," and then I wouldn't. But what I do now is I get them to take a breath, and as they're breathing, as it's always with the out breath, I feel that their energy relaxes a bit. And then with that, spirit really helped me with those sorts of clients, because they'll tell me something that is really bizarre that no one else would know. So I think, oh, that's awesome. I've made a connection. And then I'm able to read them. But initially it was my anxiety that wasn't able to connect with people like that.
Absolutely.
And it may have been that they've had a bad reading previously or something like that. There's there's
a lot of reasons. A lot of people struggle to open up to psychics, as well as psychics trying to read people. There's always like blockages and that, but I just feel that it all comes down to anxiety and holding on to fear, and if we kind of just let go and just breathe,
absolutely,
it's easier for everyone.
It's absolutely. I've also noticed you've got healing energy as well, Jen. There's times I look at your videos at the time you post them, or when I see that you post them, and other times I don't, because I don't feel like I'm ready. But then when I actually watch them, or I'll literally I'll open up your profile, and then I'll be drawn to which one to click on, and without fail, it's relevant to what's going on. It's just really, again, it's quite freaky how spirit works.
It does, and they always tend to draw you to certain things that they want you to listen to, because at times I feel like our spirit knows a lot more than we do, because 100%. We're so bound to our own physical bodies, and there's so many things that we kind of try and suppress, but a lot of the times they draw you to certain information and certain people that they feel is good for your growth. And
absolutely.
And a lot of those times is to go with the flow and just not think too much about it and why.
So what's your understanding of heaven and hell, or sort of what happens to us after we pass? Have you given that much thought or research?
I don't normally read up too much about, I suppose, the spiritual realm, because I feel that the spiritual realm, a lot of it's perspective as well. So it's like what you create in your mind, you kind of create in your own spiritual world. But what I believe, from my perspective of heaven and hell, is that heaven and hell, they coexist.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have one without the other. And I know when people first think of hell, like, oh my God, like, you know, think of the devil and it's red and, you know, that kind of imagery. But I think heaven and hell is more so, you know, different aspects of ourselves, you know, and also different aspects of the world, and also different aspects of the spirit world as well, you know. And I just think they coexist on some level, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I'm reading an interesting book. I mean, I'm similar in that I research things. I'm doing a playlist called Rhonda's Teachers, where I try to teach an alternative modality, like coffee cup reading or handwriting analysis or something like that. So for things like that, I read up. Cartography. So for things like that, I read up on the history of it, because I find that interesting. You know, if you've got someone from an Asian background to a European background that might do something different, I find that interesting. But I try not to read, like I'll read about a topic, but I try not to read everything about that topic, because it's almost like you don't know what's going to happen until you die. And also I want to intuitively, you know, feel, hear, see, smell, taste, all the rest of it. I don't want to analytically think about what I've read, if that makes sense. So I try not to do that too much. Yeah, but I have read a really interesting book. It's by an Indian lady whose two sons died in a car accident. It's called Laws of the Spirit World. And she basically does channeling or automatic writing through her sons. And they've described it as being no hell, but a lower realm of heaven, saying that there's 7 realms of heaven, and but you know, saying it can't have one without the other. But basically saying, and it's really interesting. It looks at the intention of people. So he gave an example of someone who crossed over, who was, I think, was a politician or businessman, and had done a lot of charity work and all that, but was quite corrupt in his activities. But then his intent of giving to charity was to be seen as a better person. So it wasn't a selfless act. And he went to a lower realm and he couldn't believe it. And they're basically saying things like, if you intend to do good in everything you do, you're good and you're honest, you'll go to a higher realm. But if you support a person doing good and support them in their journey, that will help you go to a higher realm. But the same thing, if you're supporting an evil person or doing nothing about it, then that brings you down. So it was really interesting to read it. And it made complete sense to me. You know, it's sort of, I got goosebumps when I read it, and my guides give me a tick if something's right, so they're giving me ticks and that sort of thing. And I've also done recently, I've done Zoom classes with, I don't know if you know Paul Williamson. He does past life regressions and but they run a company called Soul Hypnotherapy, and they run workshops, and Dee actually channels her guide, and it's absolutely fascinating the things they say. It basically, again, I was reading the book at the time, and they said the same thing. So again, spirit validating, you know, with the synchronicity of that. But it's absolutely fascinating. Yeah, so I found that interesting.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And a lot of time with synchronicity, you know, it happens because your spirit wants you to read something or to find out something for your soul growth. But but then at other times, you know, I suppose, for example, when you say something, next thing you know, on the TV, you know, it's been mentioned. And I think at times when that happens, it's a sign that you're on the right path. Yeah, and absolutely. I think it's a good validation that it doesn't matter what you're doing, or even if you feel like things aren't going right in your life, but if you get that kind of synchronicity, it's just to let you know that you are on the right path, and you know, not to judge yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something you said in one of your yeah, you've said some really interesting things. One of your recent videos, you talked about abundance and you know, focusing too much on the emotion rather than the overall meaning, like the soul. Like that, I found
Absolutely.
that profound. And again, that synchronized with what what I can't remember what I was reading and what I was thinking at the time. And what else did you say? And also talking about subconscious thoughts. Again, in that book,
Yes.
Laws of the Spirit World, they talk about how you should like to sort of to stop the ego and to sort of realign yourself with your soul's journey. They're saying that
Yes.
overnight you're more receptive to spirit and mediumship and communication, which to me makes perfect sense. But they were also saying that during the day you should still your mind for 1 minute, no shorter, no less, no longer than 1 minute. But that's basically to allow your subconscious mind to surface. So
Yes.
when you do that, you're going to be more in touch with your intuition, you know, less driven by ego and jealousy and or like control and all those sorts of things. But what are your thoughts on that?
I with meditation, I feel you're absolutely right. In this day and age, not a lot of people really have the time to meditate like they would, you know, back when it was done traditionally.
Yeah.
Because we're busy and we've got a lot more responsibilities, you know. So, but 1 minute a day seems is quite realistic.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
and that's all it takes, you know, to be able to create that stillness. And meditation doesn't only bring things up from the subconscious to surface, but it also gets rid of other sort of thought forms that you would otherwise have that's not needed.
Yeah.
You know, so it actually clears the way in order for things to come up.
Yeah.
But when it comes up, when it surfaces for the emotions to be released also.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, so after meditation, you know, you'll probably find that there's certain emotions that might come up, you know, during the day, or even sign like spirits giving you signs, like, you know, saying, you know, so you get more, you have more clarity about your inner world, you know. So I totally agree. And all it takes is 1 minute, you know. You don't have to be fancy and sit there and get, you know, all prepared, and you know, it's you know, meditation you do in your own way that feels comfortable to you and convenient for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to help people with my readings in doing that. So, you know, if they're busy or they've got kids or they've got, you know, the dog that watches them have a shower or something, you know, like just get them to just meditate in the shower. Imagine that the water is cleansing them, you know, breathe out the negativity, other people's limitations, that sort of thing. But even I used to notice that even sort of in my 20s, I was a lot fitter and healthier. I used to do yoga, and after yoga I'd feel like I'd slept, you know, I'd just had a sleep. I just felt so unburdened and so much energetically lighter, because I did do scientific analysis of people when they meditated. So you look at your electroencephalogram, your brainwaves, your EEG, by putting wires on your head, and basically the more awake you are, the smaller and faster your brainwaves are, and the deeper the sleep you're in. So non-REM 3 and 4, you have bigger, slower brainwaves. And they actually analysed people who meditated, so they were awake and meditating, and they reached delta brainwaves, so they're bigger, you know, the more deep sleep sort of brainwaves, yet they're awake. So they actually showed scientifically that it is restorative to the brain. You're basically in deep sleep mode, even though you're awake, but you're meditating. So not all of the participants achieved delta waves. There's the more experienced meditators. Is that a word? Meditate. People more experienced at meditation.
Meditators, I think you can pass for meditators.
But I just found that fascinating that basically was that restorative, and that's how I used to feel when I did yoga regularly. I became kind of like a yoga junkie. I couldn't deal without it. I don't know how I stopped, but absolutely fascinating. Again, to have your 1 minute of
Yeah.
clearing the subconscious mind.
Yeah, but also stopping the chittery chattery thoughts,
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think a lot of the times that's the reason why we can't fall asleep, because the brain is still working, it's still
Yeah,
talking.
absolutely.
So
And
meditating stops all that. Yeah.
yeah, there's actually a really good website called Sleep Health Foundation. I don't know if it's .com or .au, but it has fact sheets about sleep hygiene and that sort of thing. So it's really good. It's sort of, they're more scientifically based, but it's good sort of common sense. But yeah, even last night I couldn't get to sleep, and I thought it's stupid. So it's, it happens to the best of us, and I'm someone that tells people to meditate and the rest of it, but it still happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating
Yeah.
though.
And I also think because now with the internet and social media, we at times we can't have time to ourselves,
Yeah, that's right.
because once on the phone we're always connecting, and
Yeah,
it's still that connection. So therefore we're still working in a way.
yeah,
And I think that's why meditation is more important now, that we
yeah,
connecting with each
absolutely.
other. So,
I find it a bit smothering at times. When we went on a honeymoon, we did a 3-week cruise, I think it was, and didn't have internet. And I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. It was just not sort of caring, or not that you don't
yeah,
care, but it was just nice to not feel obliged to have to check it.
to check. Yeah,
Yeah.
the distraction.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange world.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
But is there anything else you'd like to say on how people can connect with you, or do you actually do private readings?
I'm starting to do private readings now with my angel cards. So
Okay.
if they need guidance in any area of their life, I'm able to do readings for them. So I'll be able to do readings. So if they have a question, so they might be able to message me, or they can do FaceTime with me.
Okay.
And if they message me, I can either record the reading and send it back to them,
Oh,
or I
okay.
can have it all typed out for them as well.
Oh, wow. That's
Um,
awesome. So so
yeah,
you're on Facebook, are you? What?
I'm just on Instagram at the
Just
moment.
Instagram. Yeah.
I will create a Facebook page. I've
Okay.
got a YouTube channel, but I'll put all the information on Instagram once it's all up and
Oh, right.
running.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And also,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah, and also another, one one of the other service I offer, which is probably my main one, is I actually help earthbound spirits cross over. So
Beautiful.
if you feel like you have any presence in your house, of a loved one that's passed away, and and just any kind of presence, I'll be able to attend, and I'll be able to sort of feel their presence and help them cross over. So
Wow.
I
Can you
I
give an
do.
example of doing that?
Pardon?
Can you give an example of doing that? Like what you
Yes.
actually
So
do or what you felt or?
yeah. So I used to clean a lot of Airbnbs. One of the Airbnbs that I cleaned, there was an old man in one of the living rooms. There was one time I was in there, I felt quite anxious, and I sensed there was a presence. And later I found out the anxiety that I felt was actually what he felt before he died.
Mm.
So he was quite grumpy. He didn't like things to be moved and changed around in that room too much. However, he was quite nice, and I felt that he was he didn't want to cross over. He was quite happy where he was. However, he was willing to cross over if I help him. And a lot of times I use my intuition as to what ways to help the spirit cross over.
Mm.
So in his case, I feel that he was telling me there was a white candle and blue flowers that would help him cross over. And because it wasn't my house, I didn't want to just rock up one day and come in and do it, because I felt it was a bit of an intrusion. Even though it was an Airbnb, so it
Mm.
would be empty some days. But so one day I was there cleaning, and I tried to cross him over, and because I didn't have the props there with me, and I felt the heavens open up for him, and I felt he was ready to. and just when I thought it was all done, he was still there, but his energy was a lot lighter.
Wow.
So he was on his way there. And he did tell me, he goes, Jenny, you've got the candles and the blue flowers. And I felt that those two things meant something to him.
Mm.
So he's probably still there at the moment. But he's a lot lighter, you know, meaning I've kind of helped a part of him realize the light within him. That he you know, that he needs to cross over, you know, in order to sort of experience the beauty of heaven. And so that's an example. But another example is that sometimes I'll have an earthbound spirit sort of follow me. So recently I was lying in bed one night and I kind of opened up my eyes and I sensed there was this young boy. He was quite dark, like, and he looked at me. And I felt that his death, whether it was tragic or it could have been the life that he lived, was quite tragic. And I knew he wanted me to help him cross over. So I was told to do something in the next full moon, and I didn't. But over time, he became a lot lighter. So there was more, became more transparent. And that is how I know when a spirit starts absorbing more light, you know, and in the process of crossing over. And just one day I just saw him and he looked like a normal boy. He was transparent. There was more life to him. And I haven't seen him since.
Yeah, wow.
So cross over like that as well without me doing much, you know. But I know I can understand at times it's best to help them, or if someone's in a house where there's a spirit and they want the spirit to be moved on, and that happens.
Beautiful.
But
So you've got you've got clairsentience, clairaudience, and clairvoyance. I also feel like you've got clear smelling, so clear olfaction, and clairgustance, clear taste. I feel like you've also got those. But you've definitely got a lot of natural ability with what you're picking up.
So
you've got psychic ability and mediumship. So so it sounds like you can do the cleanse or house cleansing remotely as well as in person.
Yes, I can. Remotely I can visualize, but in terms of crossing spirits over, I don't feel too comfortable doing it remotely just yet.
Okay.
I feel it really depends on the spirit, and so I'm more comfortable doing it in person.
Interesting
way.
Yeah, interesting, because that's something I occasionally get asked about. But I don't advertise doing it because I don't feel that I do it very often. It's kind of one of those things. It's like I'd also do dream interpretation, but I initially didn't advertise it, and then I suddenly, again, my brother told me I've got to do it, and then I'll sort of some weeks I'll get 3 calls about dream interpretation. So it's almost like spirit reminding you, yes, you can do it. Interesting. With the remote viewing, do you ever get asked to find lost objects? Because that's something we get asked in our psychic reading.
No, I don't.
Okay, because that's something you could do if you could sort of visualize.
Okay.
Again, tuning into the energy, it's visualizing the room. Or wherever it is. Yeah.
Look into that.
That's fascinating. I'm just going to have a look at my list and see that I've
just found out a lot more about myself. Thanks, Rhonda.
Yeah, you've got I just find you fascinating. Honestly, you've got a lot of natural ability, Jen, and I actually feel like you've been in the industry for ages. Like it feels like you're quite experienced as a psychic. You've just got, because just the way you're talking, you're not driven by ego, you're driven to help people.
That's the thing. A lot of the times I speak to my partner and then I'll do like a channel video, and I just do it, and it just comes natural to me. And when I watch it, I feel like there's almost a soft tone to me, and I'm like, you know, it's actually quite refreshing to see, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, because I'm actually can be quite loud as a person, but when it comes to doing my spiritual work, I realize, oh wow, there's this whole different energy that comes out of me, and and at times I kind of try to do the video up a bit and try to sort of speak more loudly, and but still I still give off that energy, and I just figure that, oh, that's just me.
Honestly, don't think about it too much, because I find your energy beautiful and your speech beautiful. So I love your work. So just do whatever, however it comes. And I'm exactly the same. I've got friends I can be a complete bogan with. I've got, you know, I've been in scientific labs, so I've been really quite direct and blunt with people. So I've been very different in different aspects of my life. But I find the psychic work, I'm gently spoken, and people say, oh, I feel healed after talking to you. And it's quite, again, I don't say that I do healing. I've done Reiki courses, but it's not something I advertise doing. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you're comfortable to read for me, just with tuning into my up, and if you want to tell me how you pick up that, whether you're seeing or hearing or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can do reading. So I've got my angel cards here with me, which I use as a tool to channel through messages, as we all do. I've got a few decks here, and I've got a couple of decks that I haven't opened yet. The first ones I've got are from Doreen Virtue, and you know, I do love her decks. However, I want to stop using her decks because I think she doesn't want people to use her decks anymore. So I'm in the process of finding another deck to replace it, that has the same kind of energy with angels, guidance, and I suppose daily guidance and self-help. So I'll use one of her decks for now. It's the daily guidance for angel oracle cards. So normally on my channel videos, I draw out 2 cards. So the first card would suggest about, you know, current, you know, what's going on currently, and the second card is more so looking on into the future. Okay. So this reading's for you. Always make sure I shuffle. I'm really bad at shuffling these cards. I don't know how people do it.
The cards are really big as well. So
I know, and some people just shuffle, and it seems like they're shuffling it in the air. And I go, that's amazing. I go, God, I really need to practice. So the first card here I've got for you is listen.
Okay.
Quiet your mind, beloved one, and listen to our gentle reassurance that everything has been taken care of. Stay in a quiet, receptive state without worrying about the exact nature of your desires' manifestation. A quiet mind and body hears us quickly and clearly. This is our request to you. Listen.
Okay.
I feel, Rhonda, your energy is so... I see fairies around, like you're always full of light, and you're always full of energy. And because you're so full of energy, you get so many messages coming in. And the messages that come in through for you, they're always very positive, you know, and they're always so lively, and you know, you get really, really good, clear messages coming through to you. And I think it's the messages and also the light that comes through to you from those messages coming through that gives you such stamina. You've got so much energy, you know, and you know, that's why you've got such a lovely energy. And they say that at times, because of that, your mind does sort of work a lot. Like it does run a million miles, because you want to do this, you want to do that, and you're excited for like a new project, and you're always looking for ways. You're always looking at new things to do, you know, and sort of new. You're always you're always looking for ideas, you know, new projects, you know, because your mind doesn't stop, you know, and it's wonderful, you know. I mean, it's wonderful for someone of your age to still have so much energy of a
Yeah.
child, and it's so pure. And it's not a bad thing, but however, at times if you might find it a little bit too much. So they say that, like what you mentioned before, 1 minute meditation, like it sort of calms your mind down, so it can kind of sort of put a stop into the messages that you come through, so that out of meditation, you'll just be able to sort of calm down a bit the amount of information that flows through to you,
Okay.
because you get so easily inspired.
Yeah. All right. That's
That's what they're
awesome.
telling me. Yeah, so that's amazing. The second card is Daydream. You will more easily hear and receive our messages if you daydream regularly. Relax and open your mind to receiving without directing your thoughts. Just notice any feelings, visions, or ideas as if you were watching a movie. This is the seat of creativity. Now, this card, even though it says daydreaming, I see this card as any form of sort of like putting the mind,
So
like
much focus.
stilling the mind.
Yeah.
So daydreaming, it can also mean meditation. So
Yeah.
any way that you can to sort of just calm your thoughts and calm your body, just to sort of slow down the flow of information,
Yeah.
just so that you can, yeah. So it's actually quite interesting, because I can see that you're full of it. There's so much. Oh, your energy is just so. There's just so much going on. Like
Yeah.
there's just so much going on, and you're always looking forward to new things. And they say that sometimes you might feel a bit overwhelmed because you may not know exactly what to do because you've got so many ideas. So meditate or daydream or just sort of still the mind, and and that helps filter out all of the excess information, and it can help you sort of break down your thoughts a lot easier as well.
Great.
And that way, you know which one to sort of pick and which one to sort of put aside. But yeah,
Wonderful.
I
Thank
love,
you
I
so
love
much.
your energy.
That was
That's
awesome
okay.
reading. That's and that completely resonated with me.
No, definitely, yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
That's so I'll add this to my Rhonda Meets Other Cool Psychic People playlist.